the gloomy little parlour, the flies circling in the centre of the room, the bare floor, the stacks of newspaper against the walls. By the open window was a shelf holding his books on emotions and the psychology of the mind, but her eyes lingered longest on the orange cat sat like a sentry on the mantel. The man seemed to fix on the sticky tabletop with its melting packet of butter, its ragged Allinson's loaf, its wild scatter of crumbs. "I'm so very sorry, miss," said Arrowood, tucking in his shirt. "I can only hope the sight of the good Lord's creation hasn't caused you any spiritual distress." The young woman dropped her eyes and smiled. "Now," he said, when all was right again, "please have a seat. What did you want to see me about?" "Name's Captain Moon," said the bloke when they were sat down at the table. He twitched his head at the girl. "This here's my daughter Susie. We've a problem and hoped you could help." The captain pulled off his cap and wiped the sweat from his brow. His eyes were small, his jaw and mouth hid behind a bush of orange and grey hair. His suit was too thick for such a warm July, its elbows a little over-polished. "We run a little pleasure steamer, sir, the Gravesend Queen. Take folk up to Gravesend every Saturday and Sunday for the pleasure gardens. Anyway, there's a fellow been damaging the boat when she's moored overnight. It'll put us out of business if it keeps on. Summer's where we make our money, see?" "Polgreen's his name," said Susie. "Ain't it, Dad?" Moon gave a nod. "What sort of damage have you suffered?" asked the governor. "First it was rocks through the windows," answered Moon. "Next thing I turn up one morning and me lamps is all gone." "The fish guts, Dad," said Susie. She looked at me, stood by the door, her eyes strong and hard. "Aye, that was the first. The windows was after." He jumped up from the chair, pacing over to the door, his hands in his pockets. "He dumped a load of old fish guts in the saloon. Disgusting it was, like the devil himself had spewed all over the place." "Where's the boat moored, Captain?" "We had her just off the old pier by Victoria Bridge when it started. We moved her since." "Any other boats there?" "5 or 6, but he's careful. Nobody's seen anything." He pointed at the governor's pile of books. "You read all that?" "They help me do my work. Are you interested in the psychology of the mind, Captain?" "No, sir." "Dad went to the police, but they won't do nothing," said Susie. "Told us to moor somewhere else, hide her like. So we moved her up to Bermondsey, and what happens? We turn up this morning and the awning's sliced to ribbons." "We paid £4 for that awning," said Moon. "Can't afford to get another, not right now, and the customers ain't going to be too happy with no shelter on deck," said Susie. "The old Bill told us to put the deckhand on board overnight," Moon went on. "But what if they scuttle her? He'd be killed." "That you, is it?" Moon was pointing at the photographic portrait of the governor above the little fireplace. "Yes, indeed," said the governor, a contented smile coming over his face. The photographer had told him he looked like Moses, and he couldn't help but think that maybe there was something in it. He gave the hot rash under his arm a rub. "Very striking," said Moon. "Very good." "Thank you, Captain. Now, are you sure it's this fellow Polgreen?" "We know it's him, sir," said Susie. She sat forward, her arms on the table. "He's the only one runs a steamer on our route to Gravesend. Takes the day trippers, same as us. He's trying to drive us out, ain't he, Dad?" Her old man nodded. "But you're not so sure, Captain?" asked the governor. "No. Yes, I am sure," he nodded. "I am sure." "We've been running up there since more'n 13-14 year," said Susie. "Tell him, Dad." "Used to be quite a few boats on the route afore they built the railway out that far. We was the last one left, and what happens this time last year? Only this bloomin' foreigner Polgreen comes along with an old bucket of a boat and starts taking passengers. Same piers, same route." "Which piers do you use?" asked the governor. "We pick up at the old Swan Pier by London Bridge and take them to Terrace Pier in Gravesend." "You don't